Epic Gaming Night is sponsored by Tasty Minstrel Games. Make sure to check out the Tasty Minstrel podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. This podcast is made possible by the support of patrons like you. Thanks for your support. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships board games create. I'm your host, Roy Candy, and with me as always is Matt.
Hello.
And Rob.
Hello, everybody.
And today we have a special guest, Sean from Cmon. What's going on, man?
How's it going, guys?
It's going better now that you're here, Sean.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
I have been wanting somebody from your company for a very long time.
Oh yeah, I think we did an episode like back in the day, and we're like, what kind of people would we love to have on the podcast? And one of them was just like, anybody from Cmon, just somebody from Cmon, come on the show. It would be awesome.
And I was telling the guys, I was like, look, if we could ever get Sean, Jacquemain, if we could ever get Sean, like, we could stop the show. That's enough. Forget Eric, forget everybody else. If we get Sean, boom, we're done.
We need that Canadian charm is what we needed. So
this is my last episode. I don't know if we can peak anymore after this.
Your lies are like honey in my
Nice. Awesome, man. Well, if anybody doesn't know who you are or what you do in the industry, can you just give us a little bit of a background of what you do and then also like how you got into gaming?
Yeah, sure. So I am the marketing coordinator at Cmon, which means I'm one of the public voices of the company. So at shows, podcasts like this one, articles on the page, articles in magazines, that sort of thing. That's often going to be me, and also on our social media channels. So I am one of the people that you're going to interact with if you're talking to the company or if you are wanting to hear about one of our awesome games. And how I got into the hobby. When I grew up, my family, we had a cottage out on beautiful Georgian Bay in Ontario, and we had no TV and back then no internet, and we played a lot of games growing up. So, I mean, me and my brothers would play games during the day, and then at night we'd get together as a family and play board games together. And so they've always been sort of a big part of my life. And then in Toronto, where I'm from, it's one of the meccas of board games, I'd say, in North America. And so I started working years ago at Snakes and Lattes, the board game cafe. And I worked there for years as a game teacher and a manager, and then working in social media, and then just sort of developed from there, made connections in the industry, and have been more or less working in the industry ever since.
That's awesome. Like, how early on in like Snakes and Lattes like history did you start working with those guys?
Yeah, I was there a few months after they first opened their doors, but when I was there, it was a really interesting time. When I started, we were always way more popular than we were ever prepared to be. We were a bunch of people who never thought there would be a market for people to come in and pay money to sit and play board games, and we're always much more successful than we ever expected to be. And so we had, people sitting on crates because we didn't have enough chairs. We had like 6-hour long waits, and people were waiting for it. We didn't have an official closing time when I started, so people would play games. I mean, the idea was that people would play games until they were done playing games, and we were really rough around the edges. Myself and the management team and the other staff that were there, we were all huge board game fans, but not business people in any sense of the word. And so we were rough around the edges, but I mean, I really remember in those first years of Snakes and Lattes just feeling as if we were really on the, crest of a very interesting wave, like a very revolutionary time where the world of board games was really opening up to me at that time, and seeing just how much people were interested in learning about them and wanting to come in and be a part of it. And then just me for myself, like I came in, I had a certain knowledge about board games, but being there and having access to so many great minds and great games was very eye-opening for me. So yeah, I was there very early in the lifespan of it.
You're Snakes and Lattes.
Yeah, I was one of the first guys. I think I was possibly the first hire that was outside of the original core of people that started it. So, yeah.
Nice. So I'm sure you just know tons of games at this point from having to teach all sorts of different stuff and just be involved with all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, it's being at Snakes, like any of the game gurus at Snakes, and I'm sure any other board game cafes out there will tell you that there's certain go-to games where simpler types of games that you'll teach people who just want to get playing right away, and then a little bit more complex ones. Certainly, any of the classic gateway games are good to teach people. And we would always get very excited when we got the chance to play or to teach something that was like a personal favorite of ours. Like if you had a table of people who, they knew what they were doing, they had a good board game knowledge, and they just wanted to learn something new, that was always your favorite type of table, because you could, kind of assess what they liked and really find something that you loved to share with them. So that was great.
So that being said, what was like the game that you're always like stoked to teach someone to play back in those days?
Okay. Well, so I had two that I really liked to teach. I love Raw. Reiner Knizia's Raw. I just find that's one of the best auction games out there, and it's actually a fairly easy teach. It's not too tough to teach people, and if you're teaching people like the auction mechanic, it's kind of a good introductory one, because you can kind of see the good and bad things that are out there, and it doesn't overstay its welcome, so like people can learn it and get through it fairly quickly. And the other one I really liked was Citadels. I don't know if you know. It's Bruno Faiduti.
I love Citadels. So
yeah, it is. I like that one because it introduced different sort of role selection and different character powers and whatnot, but also a lot of sort of take that and bluffing and
trying to outthink your opponents. So
exactly, and it worked out not so bad as a 2-player game as well. So like depending on the group sizes and whatnot, it could work for many different sizes. So I always tried to make sure it was a very solid friendship or relationship before teaching Citadels. There's a lot of backstabbing in it, but if they were on solid footing, then that would be a go-to as well.
Nice. Awesome. Well, shifting over to Cmon, can you tell us a little bit about what you do for Cmon there?
Yeah, for sure. So with Cmon, I'm in the marketing department. So I will do a lot of interaction with the public, whether it is, at shows or answering questions on the Facebook, Twitter, that sort of thing, posting new reviews that go up there, and just in general kind of like helping be one of the voices of the company. So, when we have a new game coming out that we're really excited about, I'll share that on social media. I'll write articles about it, take pictures of it, and just do my best to get the word out there, along with all of the talented people in the marketing department as well. But I'm kind of have a hand in shaping the way that we talk about the games and share information about the games in general.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. It's interesting because of the different hats that I've worn in the industry over the years. I'm kind of able to really quickly identify what is going to be great about a game and who that game is going to be for. So it makes it easier to talk about it to people in general.
Cool. So one of the big games that we did want to talk about, since we're going to talk about because you guys just have so many games coming out, so many new games from Cmon, but there is one that launched on Kickstarter just today. And that is Starcadia Quest. So could you tell us a little bit about Starcadia Quest and what's up with it and how it's different from regular Arcadia Quest?
Yeah, for sure. So Starcadia Quest is, as you say, like the latest edition in the super popular Arcadia series. And we brought back the same design team. So Eric M. Lang, Guillermo Goulart, Tego Arania, and Fred Perret. And each of them, kind of like over the years as Arcadia has been out there, have sort of seen that it is a family game. And what they wanted to do with this new edition is remove a lot of the different barriers to entry. So whether it be streamlining the rules or making the setup a little bit quicker, they just wanted to do something so that families would be able to play it and get it to the table quicker and more often. So in terms of theme, of course, this one is set in science fiction world, thousands of years in the future from the Arcadia that you've known up until this point. And the idea is that the heroes of Arcadia have discovered space travel and discovered different planets, and a loose alliance called the Starcadian Alliance has been formed. And they're not really completely like a governing body, but they are like a loose defense system for common enemies that may come up. And one such common enemy, Supreme Commander Thorn, is arriving with his army of minions, and he's going to try and cause trouble for the Starcadian Alliance. So in terms of rules, some of the differences, they have, instead of controlling 3 different heroes, you're going to control 2 different heroes, like a crew of 2.
Gotcha.
And instead of having like a campaign book throughout the course of the game, there are quest cards. So you're going to get a quest card, which is going to have you shuffle up tiles. They're going to be laid out differently every time you play. You're going to have different minions to face off against every time you play. And they've introduced event cards. So each round that you play, you're going to have an event card in your hand, which you're going to have to play at the end of your turn. And it could be something good, like if you're in a certain room, you'll get some kind of reward, or it could be something bad, like more minions being added to the board. So only you know what's going to happen when you reveal that event card. And as soon as you play it on your turn, you're going to draw another one, and always have one, and everybody will have one turn going in. So it's got kind of like a fluidity to it where the normal rules are going to be played with throughout the course of the game.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead, please.
Sorry. I know one of the big questions that people are going to ask is about like cross compatibility with other Arcadia Quest games.
Yeah, I think so far it is not reverse compatible.
Gotcha.
We'll hold on to what may or may not be showing up later in the campaign or in future releases, but at this point it's not cross compatible yet.
So you just confirmed that it's coming out as a stretch goal.
I
can neither confirm nor deny.
It's all right. Nobody listens to our show. You can
That's good.
No,
But it's always exciting when we launch a new one out there, and so yeah, we are about 6 hours into this one, and we funded in about an hour, and yeah, it's going along really good. Like we're super excited about this one. I think always when there's a Starcadia quest or and anything in the line out there, I think that fans get pretty excited. Yeah, excited to see how this one goes.
Have you guys had a project in the last 2 years that is not funded on day one? It's not in the first hour. I mean, there may have been a couple that took a couple of hours, but I mean, come on. You guys are the king of board game Kickstarters.
Yeah. We generally fund certainly within the first day, probably the first hour or two, sort of thing at the latest. Yeah, I mean, certain ones. I mean, Rising Sun, for example, funded
like 4 minutes.
Yeah,
I was about to say, as soon as you hit the launch button, didn't the website crash when that one started?
Yes.
You guys crashed Kickstarter.
We don't take full responsibility for it, but we might have crashed Kickstarter.
Dude, I was there. I was there ready to click that button.
Yeah,
I was there, and I was one of the first. Like, not even 2 minutes with it launching, I backed, and I was backer 2,000 something.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
It did really well, and I mean that one you couldn't go wrong with that one because of course Blood Rage was such a big hit, and getting that same team back together, and I mean Eric works on a ton of different games, and he's got his kind of his hands in a lot of different projects, but when he does one of those great mythological epic games, like it's pretty exciting to get behind them. I mean, were he ever to do another one,
he will.
It would be, I'm sure, another big hit.
I asked him if he would do. I thought Africa or maybe like Aztec Indians or something, and he smiled. Which, I mean, Eric smiles a lot anyway, so that really doesn't mean anything. But it was like one of those smiles where it was like,
well, yeah. When he does it, Rob, you can just be like, "Oh, that was my idea. I gave that idea to Eric Lang," because I mean, I'm sure Eric Lang runs out of ideas all the time.
I need at least 1% royalty.
One of my favorite interviews was Gen Con 2 or maybe as far as 3 years ago, when he was talking about Rising Sun, and they were asking him about what the next one would be, and he said the next one is going to be set in feudal Canada. So,
dude, I can't wait for all the moose miniatures.
Yes, beavers and lumberjacks.
Is there a big mythical? I mean, am I just missing out?
I mean, there's certainly a lot of mythological history with like First Nations and Aboriginals in Canada. So certainly, there are those traditions here. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just excited for the Eric and Sean heroes that you're going to have in the game.
Do you guys have Yetis or Bigfoot?
Well, I would say Sasquatch. We would call them Sasquatch, yeah. But yeah, definitely Yeti is, I think, more of an Asian, sort of thing.
Dude, man, looking at the Starcadia Quest miniatures, it's always crazy, like the miniatures that you guys put out in these games, and it's kind of funny because I always look at them, I'm like, cool, the core box comes with all this awesome stuff, check this out. But what else is going to be coming next? Because the stretch goals feel like they're like a pile of like half the game or half of what you get in some of these. What are your thoughts, or what is like the presentation on like that strategy for Kickstarters?
Well, so I mean, from my end of things, it is above my pay grade to make many of those decisions. Right. However, I get to see it sort of at the same time as other people do a lot of the time, and so it's exciting for me. I think that one of the reasons for it is just that they part of the excitement of the Kickstarter is to reveal what is going to be next. So whether it's like an homage to a classic, movie character or character in, whatever format that it is, or something that's a throwback to previous games, or just something that takes advantage of one of the awesome miniature sculptors that we have sort of on staff. I think the fun of that is kind of the reveal, and the Kickstarter team always has like a really good tongue-in-cheek approach to the games. Like it could be the darkest theme, and they'll still approach it with like a good, strong sense of humor. So I think the idea is mainly that we want to put in as much value as possible for each Kickstarter, and then also give options for potential buys, but not make things necessary for people who don't want them per se.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's kind of funny because I'm sure the more people that back, the more copies you guys can make, so it brings production overall down in price, so that allows you to add more things in. But I feel like at a certain point, as like if you're somebody sitting on the sideline and then they come out with a specific miniature that just looks amazing, you're just like, I can't sit on the sideline anymore. I got to get in. I can't let that pass me by.
Yeah, we definitely do see that sometimes, of people just whatever it is, whether it's a specific one from that taps into like a moment from their youth, or something that taps into their present day geekiness. We're all in this hobby, we're all geeks in whatever way that we're geeks, and so it's a matter of kind of embracing our own geekiness in the productions that we put out there, and then also trying to find something that the audience and the fans will also, grab onto and enjoy as well.
I knew I was going to back Green Horde, because Zombicide is one of those. It wasn't my entry game into the hobby, but back in my old group, we played that game a ton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But as soon as you guys put the Stranger Things kids out on Green Horde, I instantly backed. I typically wait to back at the end, because I already know I'm going to back, and I'm just like, all right, we'll see everything that's coming out. But as soon as I saw those expansions with the 2 additional Stranger Things kids to complete the set, and then you guys had 11 in there with the waffles and come on. I was like, all right, I'm not even going to wait. And it's to what you're saying, because I love that show, absolutely love that show. And if you guys were to get that IP and make a game off of that show, I would buy all of it. But yeah. That spoke to me, and it was like, okay, take my money. Yeah. I even told the guys, I even texted them, I was like, there's Stranger Things kids in here.
And we're like, what?
Yeah.
It's like you guys are like, hey, let's take this thing you think is really cool, or this nostalgia thing, and we're just going to drag you into our Kickstarter.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because that show just hit such a cultural point for, I think, people probably generally our age, which it hit those age 80s nostalgia moments where we just all saw things that drew us in, and then of course the show itself is compelling, and the kids are great actors and stuff like that, and so it is just designed for people to want to get on board and get everything that they can from that IP for sure.
Starcadia Quest already has a hero that's released, which is called Alpha, and they straight up look like they're from Tron. So if you're a big Tron person, it's like, oh man, look, he's got the little disc things like in Tron. Yeah, so it's kind of cool.
Are you guys
doing
a Stranger Things game?
Not.
You're not saying no?
I know of, not that I know of, but every once in a while I'll get surprised by the games that I hear about. But no, nothing that I have heard anything about. I would love to have it, but yeah, this character Alpha, I like when I see the characters come out here. I have never been a miniatures gamer in any real sort of way, but having worked at Cmon, now I really appreciate awesome miniatures, and I appreciate great painting. And so when I see a character like that and I see the art for him, I'm like, that is going to look great painted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I can start to I start to like really picture those figures in their final form, which is cool.
Awesome.
I know we're going to get to this question later on. It's sort of to this question, but you just hit on it a little bit. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to jump in real quick. But how do you guys have the best miniatures, hands down? I mean, even before you're on the show, I buy your games, and I'm not saying that your games are crap. I'm not, but I just buy your games because your minis look so good.
Yeah.
Like, even if the game was crap, I'd still buy it because the minis. I'm a plastic fiend. I've got to have all the plastic.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing that nobody else is doing? I mean, not even Asmodee. They're not coming out with this stuff. Like,
yeah.
What are you doing to set yourselves apart?
Well, our roots are in, miniatures, of course. Like, the original website, Cool Mini or Not, was, founded on just a love of miniatures and just fans kind of coming in and showing off their work and stuff. So we've always had sort of strong roots in that community and just knowing what looks good. And then, I mean, in more recent years, just working with, some really great sculptors, Big Child Creative in Spain and Mike McVeigh Studios, just partnerships with incredible sculptors, and then just also I think that just by our nature, the fans have come to expect that we're going to have the good miniatures, and so that's how we're able to put out the Kickstarters, and then, in a way almost predict that we'll have the demand and the funds to put out these like great miniatures time after time. I think it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, where it's just like people come to expect that from us and we deliver it, and so it creates this awesome sort of relationship circle. But yeah, I mean, we're super proud of them. I remember, again, going back to Gen Con a few years ago and Eric Lang seeing the first resin sculpts for Rising Sun, and just like how giddy he was seeing those things. And I mean, they are so amazing. So that was like a very cool experience for us all. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. So you guys have to do like tons of prep work with all this like sculpting and stuff, because the way the whole stretch goal thing works is you have tons of stuff lined up and like ready to go once there's a certain level. Is there like a certain amount of things that just never make it into the game, or things that you guys may have paid to get sculpted but like maybe have to push it off to like a future project or something like that, or anything that you would know about for that sort of thing?
Well, I would say, I mean, again, that's a little more on the development team side of things. I would say that Kickstarters are unpredictable in lots of different ways. Certain ones that we expect are going to be fantastic can surprise us. And be a little underwhelming, and certain ones that we didn't think at all would be a big hit, all of a sudden get this great response. And so I would say that there are things sometimes that we have to add in, and things sometimes that don't make it. And there's no kind of like perfect preparation for a Kickstarter, because what is going to resonate with the fans and the audience is always something that's surprising us. And we've been lucky in that we've come to know our audience pretty well, so we've generally been pretty successful, but the degrees of success are always guesswork in a lot of different ways. So
yeah, I was about to say, if anybody could have it down to a science on Kickstarter, it would have to be you guys. So
yeah, well, yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's always, there's no we certainly go into each one trying to learn from our past projects and stuff like that. But we are always learning. Like there is never a time where we stop and say, okay, we've got this down to a formula. We're always trying to do something different. Like the Riley Rising giant Cthulhu sculpt from our Death May Die. Like that was a crazy thing, which we didn't know how that was going to be reacted to, and certainly at one point I think we under guessed how much demand there would be for it, but at the same time we just wanted to try something. We wanted to try something different, and I think that is one of the mottos of the company, is just to like always grow, always learn from past projects, and just like keep evolving, because the marketplace is going to keep evolving too. Like if we like what fans want is always going to be changing, and there are things like different uses of technology, like apps in games, or integration of different technology in games, different mechanics that we haven't even discovered yet. Like a game like Time Stories that came out a few years ago. I mean. And now we've got all these consumable games that are out there. So, like, a big thing is just never being complacent, and that's something we strive for.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, Starcadia Quest is on Kickstarter now, so everybody make sure to check that out. I sent the link out in chat for anybody who's in chat want to check it out. But yeah, we've got a ton of games that you guys have that it'd be cool to just get your thoughts on, or just a little bit of a spiel of what's going on. One of the next big ones from Eric is going to be Victorian Masterminds. Can you tell us a little bit about that game?
Yeah, for sure. So I love Eric, and I love his games, but I am a huge Antoine Boza fan. Mm-hmm. And if I had to say someone who was my favorite designer, it might just be Antoine Boza. So, a co-design between. Right now. But no, don't tell him. I tell him all this.
Finally getting some good designers here on Cmon. Goodness, Antoine Balza. Thanks for bringing him in, Eric. No, I'm just kidding.
But anyway, co-design between those two is awesome. And so in Victorian Masterminds, the idea is that Sherlock Holmes has disappeared, and so all of the evil masterminds of the world are running wild and committing terrible, terrible crimes. And so in it, each player has a different set of agents with different abilities, and they're in these nice, chunky, different discs. And on your turn, you're going to draw one and see which one it is, and then decide to send them to one of the great cities of the world. And depending on who that character is, they can get you rewards, you can sabotage other players, and you just have to kind of play a little bit of cat and mouse about where you're going to go. And once there are 3 agents at a location, they're going to be flipped over and resolved. And so depending who put what agents where, you're going to get rewards, or you're going to be able to sort of slow down other players with that. And you're trying to gain points in different ways, and also create this awesome evil machine, this infernal machine, like a giant tarantula or a flying giant squid that is going to attack London. Nice. That sort of thing. So you're doing all this stuff in the hopes of creating your giant machine. So it is cool and silly and fun, and it's like around 45 minutes to an hour. So good, sweet playtime. Yeah. So that one we're super excited about. That one will be a little later this year or early next year. I think.
Please excuse me if you've already answered this. Please excuse me if you've already answered this. But what's the replayability like on a game like that? Like, once you're done with the missions, are you kind of done with that game, or are you guys going to be coming out with expansions or like an app or something like that to keep stuff generating? Or
for
the masterminds,
Victorian Masterminds? Well, they're not. I mean, specific missions. I mean, the game itself is highly replayable in terms of I mean, it's just you'll be doing.
It's not like Time Stories where once you completed one mission, you now know how to do it.
No, nothing. Okay. No. It's not narrative in that sense. Like the idea of it is essentially it's essentially hidden worker placement with some set collection and resource management. Gotcha. Essentially. So you're going to be putting out workers at different locations, but until each location hits a certain threshold of workers there, nobody will know what worker you've placed out there and what special abilities will be out there. And then as soon as that becomes, as soon as you hit that threshold, you'll reveal them, and then there'll be a resolution to the workers that were placed there. But in terms of like narrative to the game, it's all, it's not something that is revealed and then expended in any way.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And when did you say we were expecting that one out?
So, like, later this year or very early next year.
Cool.
Yeah.
Solid.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, the next one we have on the list is a game that I've played several times, and Rob actually got to play it the first time this past weekend, and that is Gizmos.
Ooh, yes. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Gizmos is an awesome game. So, neat little story with that. That was the first game that Eric signed when he came on as the director of game design.
Nice.
And so he saw it from Phil Walker Harding, who is just one of my favorite designers of all time. Like, it's such a great library of games that he's come up with, and very different style of games in each one. And so, Gizmos, the idea is it is the annual science fair, and players are student scientists trying to come up with the best inventions. And in terms of mechanics or like actions that they can do in a turn, it's very simple and straightforward. They're going to either get new energy, file away gizmos to build at a later time, spend the energy to build something, or like research into some of the different gizmos piles to get new possible machines that they can make at a later time. But throughout the course of the game, each of those actions is going to get stronger and stronger. And so what you're looking for ideally is synergy between the different machines that you make, so that every time you take an action, it's going to set up this chain reaction so that you're making more and more powerful turns as you go along. So that one is simple in its design, super eye-catching, which is a big Eric Lang, it's a big selling point for Eric Lang when he's bringing games into the Cmon fold. And then, of course, super replayable, like easy to learn, beautiful to look at, and then replayable. So, yeah, we're excited about that one for sure. That was like a huge hit for us at Gen Con this year.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I also liked the way that it looked and the way that it played. It was definitely a game that I would check out again.
Yeah, it's one that I played multiple times at Cmon Expo, and then we did the preview together for it there, which was really cool. And I'm like, man, I gotta get this game. This game's great. And it's just one that I feel like Matt, you would like it a lot, just because like it's. Yeah. I'm a very thematic like game player, but like I just really love those like tight little games that are like, okay, well, the theme is really you're just getting these things, and it's all about building an engine instead of like real theme, but it's so quick. It's
explosion, where you're taking quick turns, but there is more of an engine building. I don't know what other game I would necessarily throw in at that time, but that's how it felt to me. I don't know if you ever played Potion Explosion.
I haven't, but what I've heard is it's basically Bejeweled. Or a similar.
Yeah, but you are like you do have your potions where you are trying to get certain combos and stuff like that.
This is much
but it's
less
fast.
like Bejeweled.
When we were playing, like our turns were like 10 seconds. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I definitely think it would be a lot of fun. I saw it at Dice Archon and wanted to play it, but nobody was ever. It was either the table was always full or there was literally no one there, and I hate sitting down and just being like, let me just patiently wait for other people.
You should have hit me up. I would have taught you how to play that game in a second.
Man, you were too busy.
I was pretty busy. I was extremely busy.
It's like, where'd you go? Shooting video. Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It happens.
Eh.
What is the like mass release date for Gizmos? I know you had a few copies at Gen Con that you guys were selling. When should it be available to like the wide public?
3 days from now, it will be this
nice.
Friday. This Friday, it is going to be in. I had to look at my little calendar down here because I thought, has it already passed? No, August 31st. It'll be in your local gaming store. So.
Jeez.
Nice. I actually like really highly recommend this game because it is solid. So go check that out for sure. Awesome.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, this next one, I was kind of shocked to see you guys announce it.
It's so cool.
Matt, tell us what it is, or have you seen the pictures of this one, Matt?
I haven't seen the pictures, but it's like I know the IP, but like Wacky Races, like, oh man, that's nostalgia hit for sure. Taking me way back.
Yeah. So Wacky Races. This is an interesting story. Like we announced this one, and I put out the press release for it, and I couldn't believe the reaction we got on social media because it is a well-known IP, but it's also a somewhat old IP, and people were going nuts for it. They were so excited about it coming out, and then we've had it sort of on display at we had it at San Diego Comic-Con and at Gen Con, of course, and people were offering to buy just like the little cars from us just at that moment, which was awesome and also kind of hilarious that there was that much excitement for it. But yeah, I mean, we're excited about it. This one is a super, like, I mean, it really is going for that nostalgia factor. Super simple game, and basically fast, fun family game, great miniatures, and it's hopefully going to bring people back to a great nostalgic moment. And so right now it's you're going to play one of the different wacky racers, and there's 10 different racers in the game, each with their own unique car or vehicle with its own sort of special powers along the way. And then Dirk Dastardly is going to be kind of racing along with you, trying to get ahead and set traps for everybody as he would in the cartoon. And we're talking, this is the one idea that somebody mentioned to me. I don't know how based in reality it is, but somebody mentioned that we may work on a solo mode where you get to play Dirk Dastardly and you gotta get ahead and lay traps for everybody. So we'll see if that ever comes out, but that would be neat too.
And are the rumors true? Like, I saw something about the fact that this might have pre-painted miniatures, or?
Yes. So there's going to be a standard set and then a very small amount of deluxe set, which will come with pre-painted miniatures. So probably like slightly thicker tiles and the really nice pre-painted miniatures. So, yep. I don't know what our numbers are going to be like for that, but yeah, it's. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and I think, you know, the way I've been saying is if your you know, money in your bank account exceeds your free time for painting miniatures, that might be the way to go.
Nice. And this is like the first time you guys have done sort of like a deluxe or pre-painted anything, pretty much, right? So that's kind of cool and unique. Yeah,
pretty much. We do have the Grizzled Armistice edition, which is coming. And that's going to have pre-painted miniatures as well. So I'm pumped about that one. But yeah, I mean, Wacky Races for sure is like one of the first ones that we've done. We often get requests for that, especially when we're doing a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter sort of shows off some of our, you know, some of our studio painters' work, just to show what's possible with the different miniatures. A lot of people will ask us whether or not pre-painted is a possibility, but it just usually not. It usually becomes pretty cost prohibitive, but in certain cases to do that. We also did that with Gekaido. We had pre-painted. Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited about that for sure. I mean, the pre-painted ones are for sure super beautiful. So, I mean, certainly people will not be disappointed by that.
Nice. And this next one I'm kind of interested in because everybody knows about Munchkin and however you feel about Munchkin, but it's kind of interesting that you guys are coming out with a Munchkin dungeon game.
Yeah. So I can't share too many details about this one, but this is one that it's going to be kind of like a dungeon crawler. It's going to have, you know, a lot of take that elements to it. So you're going to
Munchkin would take that? What? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, we're gonna take advantage of. We're gonna embrace the Munchkin, you know, style to it. But it's you know, you're gonna have to push your luck a little bit. So you're gonna have to decide whether or not you're going to go further, and, you know, of course, the bigger monsters you take on, the braver you are, the better the reward it's going to be. So it's nice because it's Eric Lang and Andrea Chiaravisio. So it's their first co-design together, but I know they had a really good time with it. So I think they're going to try to work together again in the future. And, of course, Eric's worked on Munchkin collectible card game in the past, so like he's kind of got that flavor for it. So yeah, we're looking at that one early next year, coming to Kickstarter.
Awesome.
So yeah, pumped about that one for sure.
So keep an eye on for that. And then one that's going to be this is kind of an interesting story with Project Elite. It's a game that has already come out from a different publisher, but you guys are going to be bringing a new light onto it. Can you tell us a little bit about Project Elite?
Yeah, for sure. So Project Elite is, as you say, it's like a game that came out in the past. I actually am not familiar with the original Project Elite, except for the fact that when we bring it up to anybody, they're super excited about it. And I think that the general feeling was that it was a fantastic game that nobody can really get their hands on that easily. And it's one that was probably dying for a new edition. And I mean, we're happy to give it the Cmon treatment. So I know, as I say, not a ton about it, but we're going to be starting to talk about that a lot more in the not too distant future. Not to give too much away about it, but you will be hearing much more about Project Elite very soon.
Nice. Yeah, I know it's like a real-time game where you're going through and like fighting off aliens and things like that. And I heard it's amazing and great. The only complaint that people had was like, the miniatures aren't that great. So now Cmon's getting a hold of the game, and that's not going to be a problem. So
if there's one thing you can rely upon is great miniatures. So yeah. So, and I will say that for fans of the original game, in terms of the game itself, we are not taking anything away from the game that you love. You will be able to play it sort of in the same form. If anything, we are only adding. So I'll say that cryptic, weird statement. You can take what you will from it.
Awesome. Wait, a Cmon Kickstarter with stretch goals? What? No, I'm just kidding. Awesome. Cool. Well, Rob, why don't you ask this next one, because I know this is near and dear to your heart.
A Song of Ice and Fire.
Oh yeah, is my jam.
I can't even get him to play other games right now.
I don't want to play other games right now. Like I played Gizmos and stuff like that, and that was cute. But A Song of Ice and Fire is it's so good. It is absolutely so good. So listen, I promise nobody listens to us. Are the Dothraki coming?
You don't have to answer anything. You can just say non-disclosure agreement. Can't talk about these sort of things.
Why don't I just say that?
Like I've already pre-ordered the Night's Watch. I've already pre-ordered the Free Folk. I'm mad at myself because I did not go in on the deluxe art book, and I was like, it's just gonna be like a hardback. No, there's so much extra stuff in that art book or in that rules book that I'm pissed now, and people are making a killing selling those things for like $50 to $60 a pop just on that book alone, and so I'm pissed, and so I am not losing anything out, but I have everything for the game now, and so I just you'll have my money, bro. Like I'm gonna order it. Just tell me. Just like
if you
tell me
send
what
it to
else
me right now, I'll tell you anything you want to know.
If I what?
I'm so sure that Cmon would love that, Sean.
Exactly.
They'd be like, "Remember that guy, Sean?" No, I'm just kidding. We don't.
All you gotta do, Rob, is buy him out of his contract.
Yeah.
Just...
I would just say
anything
that,
you tell us would be great.
Yeah. Well, so I will say that Michael Chanel, who was the co-designer with Eric, he spent like a year before that game, even went into design, learning everything he could about that world. And so I would say, and we have planned out, so that is going to also launch at your local gaming store this Friday. It will be available. And so I would say that we have planned out the next year and a half already of monthly releases.
Shut up.
Holy smokes.
Now, is that monthly releases of just like unit boxes, or is that like once a quarter we could expect a new faction?
Unit boxes and things like the Night's Watch that have been already announced and the Free Folk that have already been announced, that sort of thing. So there's going to be, there is a year and a half planned at this time, but we're constantly working on the next stuff. So just a year and a half out, there'll be sort of monthly releases. And I mean, this is a game. So, I mean, one of the things that's great about, guys, I'm just going to have to plug in here. Give me 2 seconds. All right.
Sure.
Go for it.
I'm gonna do a little move here.
I did talk to one of the guys at Gen Con, and they said if you like Song of Ice and Fire, you should come to Cmon Expo. So I don't know what that means. It was kind of cryptic. But this was after I was berating them about, hey, I need more cool things. I need dragons, and I need White Walkers and all that stuff. He's like, come to Cmon Expo, man. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Can't tell you. We can't tell you to be happy.
We can't tell you we have it, but I mean, Cmon Expo is a thing. So,
yeah. So
I was excited when they announced the White Walkers, and so I'm interested to see.
Wait, announce the White Walkers? What are you talking about, Rob? Oh, you're trying to bluff. Okay. I see.
Thank you, Roy.
You're welcome. Hey, I'm trying to help our guests not get in trouble. So,
I appreciate it.
He's like, oh man, did you see the Night King? He looks real cool.
As long as it doesn't come out of my mouth, I think we're all right. But
so how about this? I just ask questions and you just shake your head yes or no. So that way it's not coming out of your mouth.
Putting you on mute now. I'm muting you, and
okay,
that's just gonna happen the way we go. So one of the great things that's coming out with the starter set, the Starks and Lannister starter set, is that, like, that's enough. As you know, if you have it, that's enough for 2 players to get started right out of the box, which is sweet. And then on top of that, like, we put more in there than the minimum that 2 players would need, so that you can actually get a sense of building an army.
Yes.
Like, you can kind of make decisions. It's not just that you're going to take what's in the box and play with it. You're going to actually have decisions to make with what's in that box, and 2 players can do that. So that was like a big thing, is that they wanted there to be the option of all of the different mechanics in one place, and all of the a sense of the army building right out of the box. That was like a big important thing for us. And another reason, another sort of indicator of how strongly we feel about this game is we're going to be working very strongly with organized play and as I said, those monthly releases, because we want this to be a living thing. We want it. We want there to be tournaments. We want there to be in-store championships. We want people to get on board with it, because we certainly are committed to supporting it. And I mean, you're asking me about different factions. While I can't really talk about specific ones, I can tell you that if you're a fan of this series, you're going to find the characters you want to play. You know what I mean? Like we've got plans for years to come. And I think I've heard it said that just of what we have already designed and figured out right now, we've only talked about 12% of it. That's already designed.
Smokes.
So there is more to come. So
okay, man. All right, I know you can't answer this, but I'm just saying this out loud. Like
keep in mind, I may not even know the answer to it, because they don't trust.
Well, and you probably don't,
like
because
myself.
it's a design question.
They'll let you know, Sean, when they need it posted on the medias. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I just like one thing that I really like about Song of Ice and Fire is the scale of your miniatures, and so I'm just like thinking like the size of a dragon.
It would be
right.
It's gonna be some like crazy Kickstarter type style stuff like that you have with all sorts of other
with Joan of
Kickstarters.
Arc. It's going to be,
or like there's big dragons in Green Horde, right?
But the dragons they're big, right? But they're not like they're not Joan of Arc big, but they are big.
Yeah.
And their wingspan is great, but I'm just imagining, like, my thought process is,
Rob's like, I need 2 1-meter dragons in my house.
Oh, no. Maybe you get baby
the
dragons.
thing is, like,
you gotta
putting
start
that
with
on
baby
the board
dragons.
and playing with it and going, like, I don't know, man. Like, it makes me feel like a little kid again, you know, because it's like, okay, let's play war. I've got my army, you've got your army. Let's play war. It's so much fun.
Yeah. What's a dragon?
I know,
Shut
right?
up. Sean.
I love when I was interviewing Eric Lang about it, and he's like, "Shh, don't tell people that there's dragons in Game of Thrones. They might not know." And I'm like, "Come on, Eric, come on."
It's so good. And also I think you made a fantastic statement about everything that you offer in the box. Unlike your competition, Rune Wars,
Hey.
where you're going to pay top dollar for barely an army. Where I think Song of Ice and Fire, when it came out on Kickstarter, I think it was $10 more than the base box than Rune Wars. However, it came with over 80 something miniatures, where Rune Wars base box comes with like 32 or 34, and so it's so much more worth it. And I appreciate that, because I do want an army build, and get all crazy. Right now, the army I'm running is. All of my friends are playing Stark. I want to play Stark, but they're all playing Stark, so I'm stuck playing Lannisters. But I'm kind of rocking the Tyrion Halfman army right now.
Though.
Yeah,
bro, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. But I'm all right, and I know we're getting off track. But
Rob's like, this is the Song of Ice and Fire podcast now.
It'll turn into for like 10 seconds. I was not crazy about the free folk. I was not. I was like, Night's Watch all the way. Especially they have the ballista. Like, get out of town. I'm a sucker for equipment and all that kind of vehicles and all that kind of stuff. But then I was reading up, bro, you get to double up with those little guys. So you basically create a swarm army to back up your giants. That is so huge. That is so awesome. Yeah. I'm very excited for that. So I'll stop. But I think you guys are doing great.
Stop on my account.
Well, like, I'm excited. I'll just say that I'm very excited. I've pre-ordered everything, literally. Don't tell my wife. It's all like I'm very pumped.
That's awesome.
And the miniatures look great. The miniatures, they're next to none. Like, I was really worried about, like, in the packaging, like bent spears, or they were going to be weak and stuff like that. And no. Yeah. I mean, they're not. Everything is well put together and things like that. And now I've broken a couple of spears because I may have dropped one or two, but I was able to glue it, fix it. But it wasn't like bent and flimsy and stuff like that. Like it's a good, clean, hard plastic.
Yeah.
They're beautiful miniatures. So anyway, just text me later. That stuff you couldn't tell me online.
Nice. Well, this next game that I want to talk about, I don't know if I can even pronounce it properly.
Oh yeah.
What is
Go,
this?
give it a shot.
I would say there's not even much. I saw a few miniatures, and the miniatures looked amazing. Was it?
Yeah.
Thrudvang? I don't know. Help me out, man.
That's pretty good. I've been saying Trudvang.
Trudvang. I think you got to have some sort of
Trudvang.
accent on it when you say it.
Yeah, well, Swedish.
Yeah,
Swedish. Yeah, this one's a cool one. It's again, I can't tell too much. Partially because of the fact I don't know that much yet myself. But so it is based on the Swedish role-playing game of the Trudvang Chronicles, and the idea of this game, it's by Eric Gael Goulart and Fel Barros. And the idea of this is that it is going to be almost... it is not going to be a legacy game, but things that you do will have impact in the future. If I can say it like that. It is going to be a game where there are going to be repercussions for things that you do throughout the game. And that's about all I can say right now. It's going to be a miniature-heavy game. It's steeped in Swedish folklore.
So is there lots of narrative to the game, or?
Yes, it is going to be. It's going to be a story that is going to kind of continue throughout the games that you play. But much more than that, I can't really say.
What kind of genre? Like, is it like a horror? Is it like Cthulhu based, or is more?
It's Swedish folklore, right?
Swedish folklore.
Yeah, but I don't know what that is. Swedish folklore.
Sword and sorcery kind of idea.
Okay, so like a medieval.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sense.
I mean, the only thing I know about Swedish is the candy Swedish red fish, and they're delicious.
Swedish berries.
Well, and their meatballs.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Bro, I could go for some Swedish meatballs.
And
right
IKEA. No, I'm just kidding.
I love and I hate IKEA.
You go to an IKEA in the game, it's great.
Unfortunately,
I hate the store, but I don't mind putting the stuff together. Is that weird?
Oddly, yes. I feel like putting the stuff together is not bad.
No, see, I'll put on a movie or something for background music. I'll put it together. I'll put on a podcast or a game show, and it's like my background music. But I hate shopping in that store. I don't know if you guys have ever been in IKEA, but they make you go through the whole store, right?
yeah.
Like you can every once in a while cut through, but it is, to me, that's hell. Like I can't tell you how much I hate shopping, and I just that's, you want to punish me? You take me shopping to IKEA. Sorry.
But I mean, they do have good restaurants in there.
Nope. I'm so mad I don't even eat their restaurants. However, though, I take that back. They have that little hot dog stand on the way out. Bro, and for like $2 you get 3 hot dogs and a drink, so I don't know if exactly is a hot dog that I'm eating at that price, but still it tastes good.
Nice.
And so but anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, so unfortunately with the Trudvang miniatures, you will have to assemble them, but
interesting.
There will be a little Allen key in the box to put it.
It's not fully legacy because you can reset it theoretically.
Yeah, honestly, I can't, just because I know sort of elements to it, but I don't want to misspeak. So
if you had legacy miniatures where you would actually adjust the miniatures based on the game, I mean, I guess there's other games that are similar to that, but that would be really cool. It's okay. But yeah, I saw some of the miniatures for this at Gen Con, and they look amazing. They give me that Blood Rage-ish feel almost, with different trolls and things like that, and different just. I mean, it's not Norse, but it's Swedish. It's really really cool looking. So
Was this going to be a Kickstarter or straight to distribution?
This is a Kickstarter.
And is this the next year or?
I think it's like Q2 2019 at Gen Con is what I had on there.
Yeah, I believe that's what we're looking at.
You guys have so much stuff, man.
Yeah,
True.
that's literally like the next question. Like, you guys have so many big, gigantic Kickstarters and so many games. What games? How do you guys choose which games are going to Kickstarter and which games are going like straight to distribution?
Yeah, I think it's it depends on the nature of the game to a certain extent and where it is on the production line, that sort of thing. And then we choose a few big ones that are going to be our Kickstarters for each year, and then everything else goes straight to retail. So, as many games as we do have, you might have noticed we have actually less that we're putting out each year. This year less than last year, and less than the year before. And one of the big influences for that is Eric Lang, and it's because he doesn't want to produce as many games as possible. He wants to produce great
Quality.
games. Yeah, exactly. So we are being a little more selective in the titles that we actually put out there. So usually what it is a matter of we set the Kickstarter lineup about a year in advance, and we just know the ones that are going to hit that lineup. And then everything else is kind of like a straight to retail sort of thing. And I mean, honestly, it's been interesting because there's been certain big games that certainly could have been good Kickstarter titles. Godfather, Kick-Ass is going straight to retail. Mm-hmm. Titles like that may have like a natural feel for a Kickstarter, but just made sense for us to go straight to retail with them. So it's something that we decide sort of. I mean, I say we, but the powers that be decide. Kind of early in the year, usually like a year or so in advance, and then we know sort of what the schedule is going to be going forward.
Well, it also makes sense from what I've been able to see. The majority, if not all of your Kickstarters are also heavily miniature based, and that gives the team enough time to get the designs, to get the molds, to get all that stuff taken care of, where a lot of your straight to distribution, they're either board games or card games like in Ethnos or Lorenzo, or
just like
a couple of
in that box,
or like a game like Godfather, where where it has some minis, but it's not like bulk minis.
Yeah,
and so like that makes sense. Like your Arcadia Quest, your Starcadia again, heavily mini based, gives the company and everybody enough time to make sure everything is done and going. This gives you that extra buffer. So that makes sense. But speaking of Ethnos, would you guys ever reprint that game a little bit prettier? The game is a lot of fun, but like that's a game I would love to be a Kickstarter game.
Deluxe edition.
Bro, that board.
Deluxify.
Yes, if you're doing it for the Grizzled, will you please tell Eric, please, a deluxe edition for Ethnos? Until I played the game, I said that was the ugliest game in board gaming. It was such a disappointment.
It's not that bad.
It broke my heart.
He honestly would not play it for the longest time because he was like, I just don't like the way it looks.
And then after he played it, he's like, holy smokes, this is amazing.
He's like, oh, this is actually a good game.
And I like the game. But
yeah,
when you pull out that pastel colored board and you have Cool Mini or Not in the corner, I'm like, nope, somebody effed up. Somebody screwed up. They were not paying attention, and they hit submit and approve. Like that is not Cmon. So
I definitely. I mean, I guess I'm in certainly the minority. A lot of people. I've heard that from a lot of different people. And I'm not saying this even because I work for the company, but I don't think it's as ugly as other people think it is. It is. I think I'm in the minority in that. I recognize that. But I kind of like it looks like an older game to me. Is it like an older style game that you would have seen a while ago? But a new version of
the cards do.
Yeah,
the cards have got that grime. They've got that cool artwork where it looks, like ancient almost, like you would see those figures in a museum, right? And even the box is deceiving. Box is great. You see this gritty, grimy, and then you pull out these little plastic tokens that are neon colors, and you pull out this board, and it hurt me, Sean. It hurt. I physically was in pain.
Do you know who did? First of all, as far as new versions go, I would say never. Anything is possible in the future, and you never know. You might get surprised, and you might see something like that sometime down the road.
Sure.
But you know who did the art for the box cover and the cards is
someone's child.
Sorry?
I interrupted. I was being rude. I said somebody's child.
Oh, the art is actually John Howe, who is a really famous J.R.R. Tolkien artist.
That's what it feels like to me. Like
now, he did the
school.
cards, right?
Yeah, he did the cards, and he did the box
see, that
cover.
makes sense for the cards in the box art.
Yeah. So he is. I mean, when I was a kid growing up, we had like old versions of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and he did the art for the covers, and so I had to. I chatted with him a little bit when Ethnos was coming out and did a bit of an interview with him, and I kind of fanboyed out and told him like fan I was of his art growing up and stuff like that. So
I really like the art.
I know that I'm in the minority when it comes to the game and the art, especially the board. But
my grievance is the board and the tokens. Yeah, I like the cards and I like the box. I just wish everything were to match.
Yeah, I hear that, and you are not the only one who has told me that.
Sorry, but besides that, I love you guys.
No, hey, you know what?
And I play the game all the time now. I play the game a lot.
Feedback like that is awesome because, I mean, it allows us to sort of say, oh, okay, like, I mean, that's something that we can learn from. Like, just as I was saying with, like, Kickstarter, it's, I mean, I don't think we ever fool ourselves into thinking that we ever do a perfect job. Like, as good as Rising Sun is, mistakes get made or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, we always are trying to improve. And so, like, never feel bad. Like, I mean, no audience should feel bad for telling us, gripes that they might have with our games, because, I mean, honestly, that is how we're going to learn and do better. I'd rather hear that sort of thing than not hear it. You know what I mean? Because
you can't get better if everybody tells you how pretty you are all the time. So I definitely respect that.
I do feel like Ethnos, though, is like, it's like a Ticket to Ride killer to me. Like, it's like that, for me, it's like a perfect, like intro. I think it could be like a great gateway game, and maybe it's just because I see it through that same lens as you, Sean, with like the whole, it feels very Lord of the Rings-ish to me, and I like the art and stuff. I just wish it had even more mass appeal, because I love the game. It's like each time I bring it out, I can't play it just once, you know? It's like, oh man, let's play it again. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
It's just so quick. I love those games that just have those like turns that they're just extremely quick. So it's just so good.
Yeah, your turns are just like, it's just like, you can't play that with AP people because it's just like there is no AP in it. It's just boom, boom, boom like that. When that game first came out and I first played it, I thought in the back of my mind that it was the type of game that could win a Spiel. And I don't know if it ever would or would be considered that sort of thing, but I was like, this is the type of thing, just like you're saying, like a Ticket to Ride sort of thing, like give it that kind of appeal where people played it enough. And I think it does have certainly an audience. Like, I mean, people do like the game besides whatever, legitimate gripes they might have about it. Like, I think it does have an audience.
It's a good game.
I've thought real hard about, like, maybe I should just get a whole bunch of Minotaur miniatures and a whole bunch of Bird Folk miniatures and just shove them all in my game. I'll make my own deluxe Ethnos game. So I'm like,
I just want a new board.
So hard to find them all. So
the cards aren't bad. I mean, I like the artwork. It's just the board and those plastic tokens.
You just don't like the bright pastels. Is that the main thing?
To me, it totally contrasts.
Oh yeah,
it's like you have this dark, gritty box cover. You have this dark, gritty, awesome, like the Minotaur. Speaking of the Minotaur, fantastic artwork on the, like, okay, I get that. And then you have this pastel, bright colored, small little board, and it's like That's like to me where the ball was dropped. And then you have like those.
So honestly, if you made everything more like metallics or like tans and silvers and golds for everything,
well, it's like
it might even
okay.
fit the theme a little bit better.
It's like he was saying, the J.R. Tolkien guy. He did the box and the cards, and then whoever designed Innis did the board and the tokens.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's more like a OCD thing where like these don't match. Like these aren't supposed to be together.
Gotcha.
Like,
hey, it's a happy game, Rob.
I mean,
it's happy fantasy characters fighting each other.
I like the game and stuff like that. We can move on. I'm sorry. It's still a fun game. I'm not saying that, but I just wouldn't touch it for a while just because of that board. But I played it multiple times. It's good.
Awesome. Cool. Well, the next thing I wanted to ask real quick is that production quality with Cmon games is ridiculous. How important would you say, coming right off that question, is visual appeal in these games, and how well do you think that sells games, and what is that in consideration when you guys are making games?
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly, we're known for our miniatures, and I think that's evolving a little bit over time, especially more recently. Mm-hmm. But we'll always have those big box miniatures. Those will always be important things for us. But I think overall, it's more becoming kind of like a table presence sort of thing. So whether that's driven by miniatures or really cool elements like Potion Explosion or Gizmos, that sort of thing, really what we're looking for is games with great table presence and something that feels like a toy, like has that toy quality when you're playing it, something tactile, something that's really fun. Now, I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine who's a board game artist a while back, and he was sort of saying like, well, what is the need of having miniatures in a game? Are they really necessary? And like we kind of the conversation evolved a bit where, I mean, eventually I was just sort of saying, well, I mean, you don't necessarily need miniatures per se, but then you don't need art necessarily. And then you can break it down to, like every game really is an abstract. So it's this, like the components are the story that we tell with the game, you know what I mean? And I think for a lot of people, they are the way in which we lose ourselves in the narrative of the game. Like it becomes, like these awesome miniature figures or this thing that we're tactilely doing, like pulling ingredients out of the slide dispenser, that sort of thing. Like those sort of things. I mean, that's why we play games, right? That's why we're not playing video games or just passively watching movies. Like, we want those tactile elements, we want those visual elements. And so, I mean, when it comes to, like production quality, I mean, we want to be the best, and so it comes back to the miniatures that we make, or the elements that are incorporated mechanically into the game. We want to do those the best because we want that analog experience to be the best for the people who play our games.
Well, I know that I really appreciate it because, like, I just really enjoy, like, feeling like the game comes to life. I mean, you have video games and you can get lost in video games and they look great, but like it could just be just plain cardboard and stuff on the table, but it wouldn't nearly bring people in or draw people in or make people want to play the game as much as like the beautiful production when these games are just done up. And like you said, it can make you get lost in the game because a lot of us play this as like an escape or whatever. It's a fun hobby. It's a fun thing to do around the table with friends, but it's cool to be able to like see your characters that you're playing visually represented on the table in a cool way, as opposed to just like a little standee or a little cube that you have to push around. Of course, it could be that, and it would mechanically be the same, but would it give you the same feel and give you the same sense of adventure, when you're running around in Starcadia Quest with your ragtag group of guys blowing stuff up, it's not going to be the same if you're running around in Starcadia Crest with your ragtag group of cubes blowing stuff up. It just gives you that feel of like, oh, check out the cool weapons I got. Look at the art on this weapon card, and oh man, look at those crazy monster miniatures that are chasing after us now. We better run away. If it was just a disc, it's like, oh, look, there's a disc over there. I guess we should, as a team, go fight that disc. So it definitely brings out a different thing, and to a whole nother level when it comes to like the most recent Kickstarter that you guys had, Cthulhu Death May Die. Just it's not a miniature. The gigantature that you guys have in that game is just ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's it. I mean, it's we're all, kind of suspending our disbelief and putting ourselves in these sort of awesome situations, whether it's, trying to bring prestige to our family in Lorenzo Il Magnifico, like those elements there, the cards, the towers, the elements of that game help suspend the disbelief and help put you in that situation. And it doesn't matter sort of what it is. It's all about drawing people in. And I think that's what we try to do through the mechanics of the game, through the narrative of the game. But I mean, components are obviously a huge part of that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's cool because you guys even take those more like mechanically driven or Euro-y driven games and find cool ways to add miniatures and stuff into those as well, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that we've got kind of like that nice balance between the two. Like more and more, we've got more of those, for lack of a better word, those Euro style, mechanic heavy games. But I mean, even something like Way of the Panda or Council of Four, the Cmon version of that, are very much visually, I think, appealing, and that's something that we've worked hard to do. Top-notch production, not just brown cubes on a board anymore.
No.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Cmon has definitely grown to be one of the biggest publishers in the industry. Is there anything different about working with such a big publisher as opposed to working with smaller or startup type companies?
Yeah, I mean, I've always worked with big publishers. So just before I worked with Cmon, I worked for a couple of years with Asmodee Canada when they had Canadian offices. And so I've always worked with sort of the larger end of publishers. And what you find with that is that with smaller publishers, because obviously the industry is very small, and I've got lots of friends who work with small publishing companies and lots of friends who by themselves are a small publishing company,
Yeah.
And one of the things is that we are lucky to have a lot of resources at our disposal. We've got a big team, which for us is a really good thing, because, I mean, as big a company as Cmon is, we actually are all in fairly good contact with one another and actually get along very well. It actually works like a pretty well-oiled machine. And I think when you work for a smaller company, you end up wearing lots of different hats where promotion, production, design, play, all of these different elements. And I mean, I think that one of the difficulties with smaller publishers is that you may end up being either not an expert in one of those things or not able to do it as well as if it was your only job. Now, I mean, one of the benefits is you get to do it. You're much more, fluid as a company in a smaller company. You can make decisions a lot quicker. You don't have to go through a large amount of approval process or anything like that. And you have a lot of control. So if you want to go in one direction or another, you have complete control over that. Being part of a big company, it's it's great. It's exciting. Like, we work on huge titles. You work with great designers, great artists, all of those different things. And I mean, for my part in it, I enjoy being a part of, a team. And I kind of know what I'm responsible for, and I make sure that I'm supporting my other team members and making sure that they support me. And, it's honestly, it's a pretty, like, it's going to sound cliche, but it is a bit of a family working with all those people. So
that's awesome.
We're lucky in that sort of sense. And I mean, I think, like, I've talked to, I as I say, like, I know friends who have worked in smaller companies, and I think they enjoy that for different reasons as well. So it's a different feel to it, but both of them, I think, have certainly their appeals.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that we that's new or upcoming at Cmon that we should keep our eyes on that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, there's two quick titles that I just would like to touch on super quickly, one is Newton, which I don't know if you had a chance to that, but that was like one of the real surprise hits of Gen Con, and it is a fantastic game by the team that did Marco Polo and Lorenzo Magnifico, and it's really tight, well-designed strategy game, and that one's going to be coming out later this fall, but I highly recommend that one. That one is one that I've had a lot of fun playing. And then the other one is actually two games, which is Railroad Inc., which was super interesting. It is the roll and write game, and so there's the Deep Blue and the Blazing Red editions, and each one of them has sort of like the same base game inside them, but each of them has a two little mini expansions inside them. So that's very fun, very simple. But roll and writes are kind of hot right now, and those are two really good ones for sure.
Nice. So, if you get a link cable, can you trade like different train cars together? It made me feel very Pokemon with the blazing red and blue.
You do have to catch both the dish.
There you go. Got to catch them all.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But,
I do have a question. Is that spelled ink with a K or ink like incorporated?
With the K. With the K.
Okay.
Railroad Inc.
All right.
Yes.
I was just trying to figure out if it was a pun or not. I was like,
Yeah.
So, okay.
Nice. And then our last question here, we like to ask all of our first-time guests is, what is your personal all-time favorite tabletop game?
Yeah, I know. I saw that question. You sent it over to me, and I was thinking about it because it's so hard, right? Like, there's no. I mean, the game I want to play with my parents. I mean, I had a enthralling game of Quirkle the other night with my parents, and I would play that again with them anytime. But
if you had any group that you could pick and any people that you could just make appear like your best friends that you'd want to play the game with, and you would pick that game, what game would that game be? It's like, oh man.
So if I had to go all time, it would be a very close decision between two Antoine Boza games, Hanabi or Seven Wonders, and I'd probably say Seven Wonders.
Oh, nice.
Seven Wonders maybe with the Leaders expansion, but nothing else. But I played so much of that game, and played a lot of that game online, and I really love it. I really love that game. I think that, I mean, there are. I mean, I'm sure there are deeper games that I could pick, but I don't think there's a game that I've played more times than Seven Wonders, and so I'd have to put that one there as my number one.
Yeah, Seven Wonders is always fun. It's like one of those like just classic games, you know. It's like drafting, gotta have Seven Wonders. There you go.
Yeah.
After you play Blood Rage, because that's the number one drafting game.
I was thinking it.
Awesome, man. Well, I guess we're going to close this thing out. Thanks so much for coming on the show. If anybody wants to find out anything more about Cmon or hit you up, where can they find you at?
Cmon.com is the best place for new information, but also the Cmon Facebook page or Cmon on Twitter. Either of those are good places to find new information. And follow the Starcadia Quest Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, we stream these Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at youtube.com/Epic Gaming Night. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us and tuning in. We also want to thank all of our amazing patrons who help us support the show and help support what we do here. If you want to support Epic Gaming Night on Patreon, make sure to check it out at patreon.com/Epic Gaming Night. Also, make sure to hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at Epic Gaming Night. We're always posting games we're excited about, posting videos of me and Rob talking about playing all sorts of different games like Gizmos and things
Roy
like
versus
that.
Rob, Song of Ice and Fire.
Someday, Roy versus Rob, Song of Ice and Fire will get edited.
He's delaying it, Sean, because I beat him really bad.
No, I really want to make it good, so I'm trying to figure out how to edit it best, and I'm finally gonna be freed up on some time, so hopefully I can make that happen. But yeah. Lots of videos. Also check that sort of thing would be over on the Dice Tower, youtube.com/the Dice Tower. That's also where Favorite Game Friday is, and any reviews and things like that we might do. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks so much again, Sean, for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much, Sean.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Bye.